Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just back again with another sequence of the end times video. This one is in the book of Judith. And so for people who are not familiar, this is the Apocrypha. And so I just got this delivered, today, the complete Apocrypha. And, it's amazing. So I just finished reading Tobit, and an incredible book. And so if you want to know what an actual Israelite is and the way they behave, I would read Tobit. But, this is good. It has, a few of the extra books as well, like Enoch, Jubilees, and Jasher. So for people to understand, that's where this comes from. And so this sequence that I teach, which is honored pretty much everywhere in the entire Bible, is a good way, possibly the only way, to really understand whether a text is canonical, and like from God, inspired by God. Because if it's talking about really anything, but definitely the end times, this sequence has to be there. And then it's the same thing here in Judith 2-12. And this is a historical event, but, it foreshadows the end times exactly. And so, because again, there's nothing new under the sun. God is doing the same thing over and over again, just different generations, and then potentially different technology and different locations. But in the last days, it's like, worldwide. So, we find the sequence here in Judith 2-12. I'm reading this in New Revised Standard Version. He summoned all of his ministers and all his nobles and set before them his secret plan and recounted fully with his own lips all the wickedness of the region. So he summoned all his ministers and all his noble ones. This is coded language for the elect, okay? And so this is, in the last days, referring to salvation. They decided that everyone who had not obeyed his command should be destroyed, okay? And so Christ will return with these ministers and his nobles to destroy. And that's in Judith 2:3, okay? 33, in the last days. And then it's verse 2 is 2:4. That's God's elect. It's coded language for the last days. Verse 4, when he had completed his plan, Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, called Holofernes, the chief general of his army, second only to himself, and said to him, thus says the great king, the Lord of the whole earth, leave my presence and take with you men confident in their strength, 120,000 foot soldiers and 12,000 cavalry. March out against all the land of the west, because they disobeyed my orders. Tell them to prepare earth and water, for I am coming against them in my anger, and I will cover the whole face of the earth with the feet of my troops, to whom I will hand them over to be plundered. Okay, and so now this is a time where, Christ is going to be administering his plagues and prepare earth and water, okay? So God is going to be sending his plagues across the entire earth and on the water. If you read Revelation 16, okay, like it says here, cover the whole face of the earth. So this is in the last days. It's that judgment across the entire earth. Okay, that's the time of the Great Tribulation. I'll read verse 7 again. Tell them to prepare earth and water, for I'm coming against them in my anger, for I'm coming against them. This is prior to when he's doing it. And will cover the face of the whole earth with the feet of my troops, to whom I will hand them over to be plundered. This is in the sky with these so-called UFOs. Their wounded shall fill their ravines and gullies, and the swelling river shall be filled with their dead. Okay, and that's in verse 2:8-16. Okay, and so this is the wrath of God. I will lead them away captives to the ends of the whole earth. Okay, so this again in the last days is judgment. Christ returning with his elect to destroy everybody with the mark of the beast. You shall go and seize all their territory for me in advance. They must yield themselves to you, and you shall hold them for me until the day of their punishment. But to those who resist, show no mercy, but hand them over to slaughter and plunder throughout your whole region. Okay, this is talking about mass death. Verse 12, for as I live, and by the power of my kingdom, this is a reference to the kingdom, what I have spoken I will accomplish by my own hand. So these are God's judgments. And so here again, it's amazing. This is, to me, one of the possibly the best ways to validate scripture. Obviously, if the person is walking with integrity, like in the book of Tobit, it's a very, very good book to consider. And then this sequence will be there, even if it's not talking about the end times explicitly. But this is here, we have the salvation event. He summoned all his ministers. This is, when all eyes will see him. And then, then we have a time, tell them to prepare earth and water, okay, for these plagues. Then we have a time of destruction across the entire earth, and then we have a reference to the kingdom. So the sequence holds. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.